Oi, what is going on, troops? Welcome back to the channel. Now, the only reason you could be here is because you're potentially looking at joining either an MC or an MCC. And as it happens, for about the last sort of 10 months-ish, I've dipped my toes into the old club world. And I've got a few little points here. So hop along, have a little journey, and listen along. Right, I'll hit you with the pros first. Let's start positive, shall we? Although that means we're going to finish negative. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Anyway, the pros. So if you are going to join on, once you're in the door and you're knocking about with the club, to be fair, the sense of community and camaraderie is pretty good. I don't know if you're aware, but the whole MCC thing was actually founded by, majority of it was founded by veterans from Vietnam coming back, and I think the whole thought process of it was they were missing the camaraderie of being in the military out there, so they came back, and MCs started popping up all over the place, and it's very much similar to what you'd see in a sergeant's mess, with appointments and how all decisions are passed in the meetings and etc. Very similar to a sergeant's mess in the British Army, or I'd imagine any sort of army around the world. So you are getting that sort of almost military level camaraderie when you're in a club, which is quite cool. I've met some, to be fair, some quite cool people since dabbling in the club world. More so just from the club that I was in, not so much from outside clubs. There's a lot of clubs in this area, and they all come together as one. But yeah, the club I was in, to be fair, the people were pretty outstanding. But yeah, the camaraderie is second to none. Another really good point about joining the club is it might come as a surprise, because a lot of people just assume as soon as you join a club, all you're into is bad stuff, and that is quite the opposite. So the main output of the club I was in was all charity work. The amount of things that you do throughout the year to raise funds for charities and stuff is actually quite surprising. So the club I was hanging about with, I met them at a charity event, and they were raising funds for a homeless veteran charity. So that's what piqued my interest, if I'm honest. Obviously, being military, it sort of struck a chord with me. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But even the other clubs all around in this area, they all come together and they're always raising funds for charities. So the whole stigma of, if you join a club, you're only doing it because you're hating the law and everything, incorrect. It is mainly charity work you end up doing. Bolted onto that, also sort of goes hand in hand with the camaraderie and the charity. You get to do quite a lot of functions. So we were doing fireworks nights and just big do's at the clubhouse and stuff. And again, that's all to raise money for the charities. So there are quite a few fun things you can get involved in. So it's not all negative, I promise you. That we are going to have some positives here that was, like I said, we're starting on. Now, the actual journey to joining a club, as long-winded and I wouldn't say hard, it's relatively easy, but as long-winded and time-consuming as it is, it's actually quite rewarding. So again, if you're watching this, you're probably looking into going about joining the club, etc. So I'll just quickly break down the journey that I took part in. I'd imagine it's similar across most clubs. So like I mentioned, I'm at the club that I was interested in, a charity ride day thing. Got speaking to a few of the members, and yeah, decided, okay, these guys are pretty cool. So then I started hanging around with the club. And so your first stage you're going to do is to hang around or support, depending on what they refer to you as. So you just sort of hang around, get a feel for everything that goes on. What is this cyclist doing? Why is he moving into the middle of the road? Brilliant. Why would you indicate on wavy fast? I fucking hate cyclists. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, hang around, so getting a feel for the club, just making sure that A, it's the right fit for you, and B, you're the right fit for the club. And then eventually after, I think it took me about 4 months or so, maybe 3, hanging around the club, attending their bike nights and a couple of rides of them, I then got invited to become an associate. And I don't know whether this is a thing that all clubs do. So I got given my first little patch, bang that on my leather cut. And it's just your sort of foot in the door for the club, and that's again is a more in-depth vetting process to see if you meet the club's requirements and make sure that obviously the club is right for you. So I did that for 3 months. The one I was in, you've got to do it for a minimum of 3 months, so I was quite lucky, hit my 3-month point, immediately got my prospect out of it. And that's when the decisions have been made, you're the right fit for the club's the right fit for you, so you're moving on up into the structure of the club. Now, being a prospect, it was fun. This is where I tapped out, by the way. It is good fun, but you're just kind of a general duties, odd jobs. If you're again referring it back to the military, you are like the private, new in unit, don't really know much, so you're just going to get tasked off with all the stuff everyone else doesn't want to do. It wasn't the worst. I mean, you're still getting out with the club, and it's just more bar work and cleaning and stock takes and a lot of boring sort of things, but wasn't the end of the world for me. Now, with that, you've then got to go and introduce yourself to the other clubs, and that's where it sort of killed it for me. So you've got to go around to all the other clubs, and there's a lot of clubs around here, and it started to feel more of a job, of a chore, than it was enjoyment. So we'd go out riding. Well, I say riding, we'd ride to another club and we'd just stand around chatting, having a beer, and then we'd ride back. So the enjoyment of actually getting out on your bike died there for me, and that's what put me off. Another quite cool thing about being in the club world is you get to take part in some quite exclusive rides, obviously like club only type things, and I did see and attend some really quite impressive stuff, to be honest. Like I said, there's a lot of clubs in the area, and sometimes there was like hundreds of bikes all together. Again, just doing charity rides, etc. All out together, doing just big, really impressive rides, which was quite cool. So yeah, you do get access to little exclusive rides. Yeah, overall, the whole journey of joining, it was cool. I met some awesome people. Outside of the club, I met some absolute belters that I'll be glad I'll never see again. So yeah, there are a few pros to it. However, moving on to the cons, and sadly, this kind of outweighs the pros, and it's probably just personal preference. Some people have probably got no cons at all for it. However, I have got a lot of cons. So I apologise, by the way. I've got an exhaust on this bike. I have stuck a buffer in it, but it's still incredibly loud. So there might be a bit of editing for me to do to raise my voice and lower the exhaust sound, but we'll see. Anyway, I digress again. So moving on to the cons. I touched on it briefly earlier. I had to stop myself because I started putting cons in the pros. However, like I said, once you're in and you're prospecting, life becomes a bit of a chore. It was no longer going out for rides, and just be aware, the main reason I joined the club, or was looking to join the club, sorry, was because I wanted to go out riding with a group of like-minded people. And sadly, the promise of it was there, the reality of it, it never came to fruition. The only rides really I ended up doing, like I said, was going from one clubhouse to another clubhouse to another clubhouse. And the only riding we were doing was to them clubhouses, and then we'd stand around for hours. And there's a whole load of politics to it as well. Like, you've got to introduce yourself in a certain way. You've got to introduce yourself to the certain people first. And it's a nose, man. It's a lot to take in. It takes a while to get used to it. It's just a bit silly, if you ask me. So yeah, the rides became less, and it was more about going to clubhouses and just chatting shit, basically. I mean, most of the time I wasn't even chatting. I was just there because I had to be, to introduce myself. Wasn't really talking to anyone, because no one gives a f*** about you when you're a prospect anyway. Especially the bigger clubs, they've got no time for you. So you're just feeling your duty of going to all these clubs, introducing yourself. They don't really give a f***. And it was just, it started to get pretty mundane. So on top of that, if you are going to join a club, just make sure, well, I mean, my personal opinion would be, join a club that's not governed by another club in the area, because that's where the problems arose for me. So I ultimately left the club I was joining because an outsider, well, a club above us, they got a bit of a sad on because I'm in a Facebook riding group, obviously because I like riding a motorbike, and they did not like it. I was told I had to leave the Facebook group, I had to go in for a meeting to explain myself, and I just was not about that. So I immediately down tools, left, because I'm not allowed to be told who I'm riding with in my spare time when I'm not doing club stuff. So just be aware of that. There's a lot of politics to it, there's a lot of rules, and it's just a bit of a nightmare. Now the irony of all that, yeah, the irony of that situation was that Facebook club or group or whatever you want to call it, the riding group that I was in, there was loads of people from all the different clubs in the area in that Facebook group, and there was actually one that applied to join. We let him in, and then he immediately went back and said, oh, he's in this riding group, which I don't know why the penny didn't drop for them. Like, well, how do you know? You must be in it as well, you sausage. So yeah, that was one thing that just ended it all for me, to be honest. That was the main throw. It's just a bit of a snake pit, so just watch yourself with it. You're constantly being watched, and people are just out to get you on it. That's the feel I got. You're being watched, just waiting to f*** up, and then they'll have you. It's all a bit childish, if you ask me. Telling people who you can ride with, etc. It's just not for me. I joined because I wanted to ride, and ultimately they stopped me riding, so f*** that, I was out. Another point is the cost. It gets expensive, man. So you got to buy your leather cut, sorry. And then initially I had to buy a support patch. That cost me a tenner. And then when I got rid of that and moved up, my first patch was free. And then I had to pay 50 quid for my prospect patch, and that was set out as a patch fee. I'd rather they was just honest, because you can get those patches made up for about 15 quid, so I'd rather it was just 50 quid for the pleasure of being a prospect, and then you have to start paying monthly subs as soon as you're a prospect. So we were paying 20 quid, moving up from there paying 40 quid. So it gets expensive, plus all the fuel of going to these club meets that are spread all around the AO. It got expensive real quick, and I just wasn't getting a lot out of it. So another point I've got here. Although I said it is a really tight community, and the camaraderie is cool, as with any community, not everyone gets along. And this is something that really did my head in. There's a lot of bitching within your own sort of group. Again, referring back to the childishness, like, I'm 37 years old, I don't need to hear a bunch of kids moaning about other people that they're supposedly meant to be digging out blind for. And then one minute they're telling you, oh, blah 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 has done blah blah blah, I'm really fed up with this, etc. And then you see them together and they're nice as pie to each other. It's a bit of a joke. Like, on the surface, it's sort of this really tight community. In reality, it's absolutely not. Yeah, it's a bit of a joke. And this video is a bit disjointed because I'm jumping all over the place, but going back to the outside clubs and the Facebook group issue, the double standards of it all is just ridiculous. If you're not one of the big clubs, then you're just getting told what you can do, what you can't do, whilst the big clubs will be doing exactly what they're telling you not to do. It's unreal, the level of double standards. Absolute jokes. So another thing as well, there's mandatory meets that you have to do, and if you can't make them, you've got to sort of explain why, which isn't the end of the world, but if you're like me, you're a family man, it's just very, very time consuming, the whole process, and having to apologise not being able to make certain events and stuff is a little bit annoying. So yeah, just bear that in mind as well. You have to be hitting certain targets to stay within the sort of rules of it all. So yeah, anyway, I've got on a bit of a rant there, but that's my personal views. Obviously other people, if you spoke to people in the same club as me, they'll have a completely different view, they live through it. However, it's just not for me. The politics of it all, the childishness, the double standards, it completely put me off, and I will never ever dip my toes into the club world again. That was more than enough for me. I've seen what I wanted to see, I've tried it, it's not for me. I want to get out on my bike, ride with people I get along with without having to abide by all these mad rules, because for a life with no rules, this is what really gets me. I've spoke to so many ex-club members and we all agree on the same thing. For a life with no rules, all you are watching out for is breaking them damn rules. So it is not all freedom at all. The majority of it, you're treading on eggshells in hope that you don't break one of these stupid rules. So yeah, anyway, like I said, there's my little spin on it. Join up, do one, do what I've done. Do the journey yourself. Find out for yourself, don't just take my word for it. Obviously I'm a little bit twisted, mainly because I got told not to ride with my friends. You might have a better experience than me. I can't fault the club I was in, but I can fault the outside clubs. They ruined it for me. So give it a go. Let me know how your journey's going, or if you're already on a journey, let me know how it's going. And I'll get back to you in the comments. But until next time, stay low, move fast, take it easy guys and girls.